In the heart of Manila, beneath the shadow of tall concrete towers and the chaos of jeepneys honking their way through the streets, lived a boy named Rico Santiago. At only 15, he had already lived a lifetime of struggle. His father, once a fisherman, had disappeared in a typhoon 3 years ago, and his mother, his only anchor, worked endlessly in a laundry shop to keep them alive. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, Rico would sit near the broken window of their small wooden shack, his voice echoing softly into the humid night air. He sang not because he dreamed of fame, but because music was the only thing that made him feel close to his father. His father used to sing Hotel California to him when he was little, off-key, playful, with a smile that could melt the hardest hearts. And even though Rico didn't fully understand the lyrics, he remembered that feeling of warmth. The song became their secret lullaby, a symbol of love and escape from the pain of poverty. But dreams don't come easy for a poor boy. Rico had to work washing cars, selling street food, anything that would bring a few pesos home. His mother never complained, but Rico could see the exhaustion in her eyes. He promised her silently every night, "Someday, Mama, I'll change everything for us." One afternoon, as Rico was singing softly at a public park to passers-by, a man in a black cap stopped to listen. The man dropped a few coins into Rico's open box and asked, "Kid, where did you learn to sing like that?" Rico smiled shyly. "From my papa, sir. He used to sing before he was gone." The man introduced himself as Ramon Cruz, a retired music teacher who occasionally volunteered at local talent programs. Something about Rico's voice stirred him deeply. It was raw, pure, and soaked in emotion. "Would you like to audition for Philippines Got Talent?" Ramon asked. Rico froze. He had seen the show only through old shop windows, watching people perform with shiny clothes and expensive microphones. "Me? But I don't even have proper shoes, sir." Ramon placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You don't need shoes to make people feel something. You just need your heart." A week later, Rico stood backstage at the massive theater, his hands trembling. The lights were blinding, the crowd roaring. He wore a plain white shirt, slightly oversized, and a borrowed pair of jeans. He held an old guitar, its strings rusty, its body cracked, but it was the only one he had. When his name was called, he stepped into the spotlight. The judges looked at him curiously. One of them, a famous pop star named Maria Lopez, leaned forward and asked gently, "What are you going to sing for us today, sweetheart?" Rico swallowed hard. I'll be singing Hotel California by the Eagles." The audience murmured. It was an ambitious choice, difficult, legendary. But Rico took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began. The first strum was shaky, uncertain. But as he reached the opening lines, something changed. The tremble in his voice melted into warmth, and the entire theater began to quiet down. "On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, there was pain in every syllable, a haunting echo of loneliness and love lost." His small hands moved carefully across the guitar, but his voice soared. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was raw, filled with longing, grief, and innocence. As he reached the chorus, the screen behind him flickered with images of stars, deserts, and distant lights. It felt almost like he was singing directly to his father somewhere beyond those lights. "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave." When Rico sang that line, his voice cracked, just slightly, but it was the kind of imperfection that made hearts shatter. The audience fell silent, some covering their mouths, some wiping away tears, and then he looked up. For a brief moment, he smiled. That small, fragile smile carried everything: pain, hope, and love for a father who never got to see his dream. When the final note faded, there was no music, no sound, just silence. And then, a thunderous standing ovation. Maria, the judge, was openly crying. "Rico, you didn't just sing that song. You lived it." Another judge, unable to hold back emotion, added, "Your voice, it's like it carries every broken heart in this room." The crowd chanted his name. "Rico! Rico! Rico!" Then Maria stood, reached across the table, and slammed her hand down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded through the air, raining down on the boy who had once sung under broken streetlights. Rico stood frozen, tears streaming down his face, as his mother ran from backstage and embraced him tightly. Under the shimmering gold rain, she whispered, "You did it, Anik, your papa would be so proud." That night, the clip of Rico's audition went viral worldwide. Within hours, millions watched the Poor Filipino Boy Sings Hotel California video. People from every corner of the globe shared it, calling it the most emotional performance ever seen. Messages poured in, offers to help, gifts, donations, and words of love from strangers who said Rico reminded them of hope they'd lost long ago. Rico didn't just win the golden buzzer, he touched the world months later, standing on the grand stage for the finals. Rico didn't care whether he won or lost. He had already achieved something greater, he had found his voice. As he sang one last song, his mother watched from the front row, her hands clasped to her heart, whispering prayers of gratitude. And somewhere in the unseen world beyond the lights, his father was smiling too. When the song ended, Rico looked at the crowd and said softly, "If you're watching this, and you think you're too poor, too small, or too broken to dream, just remember, sometimes, your pain can become your greatest song." The audience stood once more, cheering through tears.